Hi, I'm Bernat Farrero, CEO at Factorial, a software that helps you manage your employees, your time, your data, but also the development of your people, and lately, also finance. Today, I'm going to show you the latest launches that we did in the product. Let's go see it. Before we go deep into each section of Factorial, let's talk about the design. We just launched a new homepage and a new employee profile. And we'll keep working this whole year in redesigning the whole experience of Factorial with the aim to provide the simplest possible experience we can imagine. Now we'll start with a section of the product that we call Operation, and it's everything related to the employee management. Data, time, absences, documents, and everything necessary to go through the payroll process. In particular, this time we'll focus on the overtime management. And even though this is a very complex subject in real world, we're trying to simplify it to the extreme. So now let's start with the very definition of what's an overtime. It can be hours that exceed the planned time in a schedule, and it can also be hours that exceed the contract time of an employee. Overtimes can be quantified in stacks. The first 2 hours of overtime in a week are compensated in a certain way, and the next 4 hours in another way, and we now support the stacking of extra hours, but also extra hours can work in special ranges. For example, hours from 10 in the night to 6 in the morning can be quantified in a certain way. Hours in weekends or holidays are quantified in a certain way. Now in Factorial, we also support these extra hours based in specific ranges. So we just talked about how to configure different types of overtime, and now we'll talk about how to compensate this overtime. In Factorial, you have 3 options. One is holidays, absences. The other is paying it in the payroll process. And third, a new one, is the bank of hours, which is basically an open account with an employee in which we can check whether the employee owes us hours or we owe hours to the employee. You can see in the section of time tracking of each individual employee, the section of bank of hours, and you can check the last changes made in this bank of hours. In the shift section of Factorial, we improved dramatically the user experience to create shifts both from scratch and from the very timesheet where you are working. We also introduced the absence management from the shift management section, so you can see very easily who's on holidays and who's not. And we also created the backup shift concept, so when an employee goes out in an absence, we don't lose the information of the shift. Finally, we listened to your requests for having multiple signatures in one document, and we introduced this feature, and also the ability to choose the placement of the signature within the document. Now let's move to the talent section of Factorial. This is the section where managers can be on top of the development of their employees, from recruitment to performance management, trainings, and engagement. Now I will focus on the process of creating a performance review. Because we know it's a very complicated process, we created a new section that allows companies to create performance reviews from templates. To give an easy access to the managers to all the talent information, we created a new section where managers can very easily track the distribution of their teams, and they can also see the 9-box grid where they can assess the potential and performance of their teams and very clearly identify which are their top talent. We also work in the training section of Factorial. We added 2 new types of surveys. Because we want to track the effectiveness and satisfaction of each training, we created these 2 new surveys for the managers and the employees that at the same time help us comply with the certifications, with the ISO and others certifications in the market. Finally, let's move to the finance section of Factorial. In this area, we work on automating every administrative process in the finance area of the company. Let's start specifically in the project management section. Here, we created a new view for managers where they can see all the employees contributing in projects of the company. From there, they can click in the specific view of an employee where they can see the time tracking assigned in projects of the company, the expenses registered in those projects, and also every task assigned to each project. Now moving to the My Spending section, now employees will be able to report new per diem expenses, where they can just select the origin and the destination of a trip. They can choose the day in which they're doing this trip, and they will be able to just select one of the pre-configured policies of the company for per diem expenses. These policies can be configured by legal entity and any custom aggregation of employees of the company. So these have been the news in the product in this edition. But we're working in further developments of our compliance in our time management products for most of the European countries. And also, we're very proud to announce the new partnership with the TEF, the leading payroll provider in Germany. See you in the next edition.